Jerusalem this evening. This is it's Thursday night here, and I'm sure if you're anywhere, especially in the U.S., you've heard the news. You've already heard the big news of the day, which is not coming from Israel, but is coming from the U.S. And in Washington, D.C., you've heard about the shooting of two Israeli embassy employees, Yaron Lishinsky and Sarah Milgren. And this was what we woke up to this morning here in Jerusalem. We woke up to the news. I put on the news this morning, like around I think 6:30, and they were talking about a shooting that happened at the Jewish Museum in Washington D.C. And it was like, oh wow, like okay, this is, of course, it was big here in the Israeli news, and they said there was an event at the Jewish Museum, and they believed at the time, it was breaking news, and that it's two Israeli embassy workers that were shot. At the time, we didn't know if there were deaths, and then yes, there was a death, and then it said an embassy worker and his wife. You know how breaking news goes. So they continue to develop that. They, who was the shooter? Did they catch him? Stuff like that. Anyway, I went to work, and of course, people were talking about this. And we went to grab a coffee. Me and some of the girls there, and there's a cat. Sorry. Jumping at the wall. Okay, so I went to grab a coffee, and my friend gets a message, and she said, oh, this is the one who was killed. And I was like, okay, but do you know him? And she said, yeah, I think I do. She may not know him. She didn't know him personally, but it turns out the name was familiar to her. And then she comes and shows it. We met another man there. We met David Katz from Sarel, and we were all chatting. And she comes over and she goes, David, do you know him? And he looks and he goes, oh my gosh, yes. So Yaron Lishinsky was extremely well known here in the small Christian Messianic community. His whole family. I personally didn't know any of them. I don't know any of them, but I know of, for instance, Hanan Lishinsky works at All Israel News, where I used to work. And then my sister told me that the father, Daniel, is a tour guide, and that's why David Katz would have known him probably. And he just led a tour that she booked, to go to Israel, of Spanish-speaking pastors. And so apparently the father also speaks Spanish. And then when I got to my office, there were a lot of people crying that knew Yaron. And one of the girls is actually roommates with his sister. I could not believe when I heard the news this morning. I thought, I don't know any Israeli embassy staff almost anywhere in the world, let alone in Washington. So I was so shocked at all of the very quick personal connections. So anyway, this shooting happened in DC last night. So it was Thursday morning for us, Wednesday night for you guys. And excuse me. And hi, everybody. I see you guys are saying hi, and thank you so much for tuning in. I'm doing this later than usual. Guess who's here? My parents are here. They just got here 24 hours ago. And so we were hanging out late at night, late into the evening. And anyway, but I wanted to make sure, this is the big news here, the big news in a lot of places. It kind of trumped all of the war news for the day, even here in Israel. So so Yaron was with his girlfriend, Sarah Milgram. And I think Yaron was 28 and Sarah, I believe, was around 25. I mean, they were both employees of the Israeli embassy. Yaron is German Israeli. He was born and raised in Germany, but moved here in his teens to Israel. And Sarah is American. And I think, I mean, at least Yaron is, but I think also that she is a believer. And that was the news that went around. So I'm just, it's unbelievable how close to home. Like I said, I didn't leave the house hearing the news thinking I was actually going to end up knowing anybody who knew. You in diplomatic circles, like it seems like a far connection. So there's also, All Israel News. One of the editors there earlier this year, her son was killed in Gaza. He was a soldier, and they were working with explosives, and the explosives went off accidentally, and he was killed along with some other soldiers at the time. And so this is like two big blows for that one news organization, this, a small staff, just in a couple of months. So all of these connections, of course, now if I assume you know the story, but the shooter, his name is Rodriguez. I think his last name is Rodriguez, Elias Rodriguez, 30 or 31 years old, walked up to the couple as they were, I think, exiting the museum. And I don't know if it was then, but definitely later, he started chanted when he was getting arrested, "Free, free Palestine." Don't know much about him. I didn't start looking him up. I'm sure every news reporter in the world is doing that right now, and we'll find out soon enough who he was and who he is, what his story is, and why. But I'm also just looking at the comments on Twitter, and here's a friend of mine, Ihab Hassan, who is Palestinian. And he wrote, "This was a horrific act of terrorism fueled by anti-Semitism. The terrorists targeted them because they were Israelis and Jews outside a Jewish museum, solely for who they were. It is deeply disturbing that the attacker claimed to act in the name of Gaza and Palestine, because what he did has absolutely nothing to do with our people or our cause. Exploiting our suffering to justify the cold-blooded murder of two innocent people is both shameful and unforgivable. No individual should ever be targeted for their religion or nationality. Terrorism and anti-Semitism must be condemned fully, clearly, and without hesitation." And then he says, "May their memory be a blessing." And that's what Jews say after the name of somebody who's died. They say, "May their memory be a blessing." So he added that. So one of the things I read about Sarah is that she was studying the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, but also how to overcome the conflict through friendships. And she came in and was here for 5 weeks doing some research for her master's. I think it was, I don't know, it was maybe a year ago or 2 years ago. And she was studying or researching a program, or somehow with this group, I think it was Tech for Peace or something, at Neve Shalom. This always happens to me, especially it's like 10:30. It's bound to happen. Okay, so Neve Shalom means oasis of peace. What is it called in Arabic? Something salam. But it's a kibbutz, or not a kibbutz, a community that's like Arab and Jewish mixed. And so she went there and was studying like the friendships that are made between Jews and Arabs, Palestinians and Israelis, to see like how friendship can help overcome the conflict. And such a shame we're not going to get to see her carry out this kind of work in the future. For an American Jew, I believe she was Jewish, to eventually probably would have moved here. They were about to get married. Apparently, he bought a ring. Yaron had just bought a ring, and they were supposed to be coming to Jerusalem next week, and he was going to have her meet the family, and he was going to propose. So it's like apparently this couple, like everybody, all the quotes you see about Yaron, like kindest soul, most intelligent person, love to be with him, best friend, like light in the room, lights up the room. A lot of similar quotes about Sarah. And, to think that these two lives for no reason, for like Ihab said here, this has nothing to do with actually freeing Palestine and the cause. And it's such a shame because I think there's a legitimacy to protesting, and there's a legitimacy to to say that that Israel is, you can argue all you want. You have the free speech to say that, okay, maybe, Israel shouldn't be doing this, or that we oppose what Israel's doing, or it's disproportionate. People should be able to say that. They should be able to criticize if they want. But the Free Palestine movement has taken on a life of its own that actually has nothing to do with criticism of Israel, but anti-Semitic and anti-Israel sentiment that does absolutely no good for the Palestinians who are in Gaza, who are dying. So clearly, anyway, this obviously was just senseless, and really, you can see it reverberating here through all of Israel, to see that the protests that have been unreasonable and all over on the campuses around the U.S. Have now become deadly, not just violent, but deadly. And of course, the people who were trying to understand the conflict and trying to come to solutions for peace. So anyway, that's that in a nutshell. That is the headline of the day. And Yaron Lashinsky and Sarah Milgram, two young people, foreigners, German, Israeli, and American, working for the Israeli embassy, shot to death at close range in Washington, D.C., by somebody who decides to say afterwards, free Palestine. And so the world over is in shock, and many people are condemning it. The United Arab Emirates was one of the first Arab nations, if not the first Arab nation, to condemn it. And just crazy. So anyway, on that note, I'm going to go, but I just wanted to make sure you knew the inside story, the inside scoop from Jerusalem of how Yaron is connected here in the community, and how the circle is very small when it comes to the believing community here in Israel. So anyway, wherever you are, have a good rest of your day or evening or night or morning. And thank you for tuning in. And we'll, I'll be reporting